Hi, my name is Mark Walhout, and in this short video, I'm going to talk about things you can do if you feel like you might be behind on your retirement savings. And a lot of Canadians do feel like they're behind on retirement savings. The last video I did, I talked about behaviors that you can adopt early in your career that if you can hold them through to retirement, you should be in good shape. And I had a few people reach out to me, be like, man, I'm not saving that amount and I feel like I'm behind. And my answer to that would be, you're in really good company. And so I'm going to give you some strategies that you can employ to help you play catch up if you feel like you might be behind on your retirement savings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so we can go through an article together. So this article was written by Ben Carlson. It was actually part of a chapter of the book that he wrote around saving for retirement, which I'll link to below because it's a fantastic book. But I'm going to first, before I jump into the details from the article, I'm going to talk about a couple of statistics. So CIBC did a poll in 2021, and they found that the average Canadian has about $184,000 saved for retirement. And 32% of people aged 45 to 64 have $0 saved for retirement. And then, consistent with what I see when I'm talking to a lot of people is most people just don't really have any idea. Over half of Canadians polled don't really know whether or not they have enough saved for retirement, or if they're on a path rather to have enough saved for retirement. So if you're, you feel like you're a late starter, let's say you're 50 years old and you're like, I don't have a lot saved up for retirement, or I think that I should be saving more. I feel like I'm behind. What I feel like a lot of people do is they sort of, they kind of bury their head in the sand. They try to ignore it and hope that maybe they can deal with it later. But the first thing that Ben highlights in his article is, the best time to start saving was 10 years ago, but the second best time to start saving is today. And I think that's just a fantastic line. The problem isn't going to solve itself. It's better to start, at least identifying the issue and trying to make some positive steps towards, moving forward with a retirement savings plan. And then he outlines a couple of advantages that people that are in their middle careers have that younger savers don't have. So first is that they're probably in a point in their career where they're earning more money than they did when they started out in their career. Your kids, if you have kids, they might be entering a phase where they're, coming off the parental payroll. I have two young kids, and I can, certainly understand how expensive kids are. And my hope is that by the time that I turn 50 or in my 50s, that they're going to become cheaper, but who knows? So if you're in that stage, maybe, your expenses are dropping from having kids in the household, and you have more free cash flow that you can devote towards saving for retirement. And then the third advantage is if you've lived in your home and you kind of whittled away at your mortgage over the years, maybe there's more free cash flow if you're getting ready to retire that mortgage. So people that are on the run up to retirement, ideally, if they're in a situation where they have more free cash flow, they can really hammer away at that savings objective and make up for lost ground as they're approaching retirement. So there's some positive, tailwinds for somebody who needs to play catch up. And in the second part of the article, Ben talks about something that's really, really important. And it's the importance of taking a focus on things you can control and less on things you can't control. So what you can control is the amount that you're saving. You can control your savings rate. What you can't control is the performance of your investments. And what I do see is that sometimes people, they feel like they're behind, so they take risks that they know are kind of very high, or risks that they wouldn't otherwise take because they feel like they need to hit a home run as they enter retirement. And what Ben does in this example is he walks through a hypothetical couple, the Carlsons. They're 50 years old. They know they need to save more for retirement. Carl says, hey, I'm going to take a ton of risk. I'm going to pursue a 12% annualized return in my portfolio. And Carla says, you know what, that's probably not the wisest thing. Let's go with something that's a bit more reliable. Let's just use sort of a broad, portfolio of equities, mostly equities and some fixed income, but mostly equities. We're going to target an annualized rate of return of 6%, and we're just going to save more. Instead of saving 10% of our income, we're going to save about 20% of our income. And then based on a household income of $100,000, if they just start with nothing and they increase that amount every year by 2%, the chart at the bottom illustrates a couple things. Number one, after 20 years, just by saving more, Carla's got more money accumulated than Carl did, even if he did achieve his 12% returns. He did save less, but there's a big if around when you're pursuing higher expected returns. Carl may achieve that high return that he's shooting for, but there's as much risk that he underachieves that. Carla, on the other hand, her approach was, hey, let's just control our behavior. Let's save more studiously, more aggressively, and take the returns that the market's going to give us using a much more conservative rate of return. Just by controlling their behavior, Carla's approach had them actually accumulating more money after 20 years just by, saving and working a bit harder to get that savings rate up. So savings approach makes a big difference. And, starting off with, saving today, if you've got nothing or if you don't have a lot saved up, it can feel like a really daunting task. But as you can see, the power of compounding does come into effect here. Them by saving, around 10% of their $100,000 income, that's $10,000 today. Every year they kind of keep that up and increase it slightly. $864,000. It may not be enough for like a really lavish retirement, but it's certainly nothing to sneeze at. And when you combine it with other sources of income that they're going to have in retirement, it might actually work out pretty well for them. So I guess the big takeaways, number one, are if you're behind, don't bury your head in the sand. The best thing to do is to deal with it proactively. Starting small with some additional savings amount is better than burying your head in the sand. I guess that's the second takeaway, which is an extension of the first. And then the other big one, which is, if you feel like you're behind, I think the worst thing you can do is start to take on really risky investments that, you may not be familiar with or carry a ton of risk on the run up to retirement. You're better off to control your behavior, which is saving more aggressively and staying with strategies that are more proven over long periods of time to work really well. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, questions and comments below, and I'll speak with you soon. Take care.